Hi. Today I'm going to be talking about Crow Lake by Mary Lawson. To start off, I've never really read one of Mary Lawson's books, and after I read it, not after I read it, but during my reading of it, I kind of understood that she's more of a serious writer, I guess, but I could be wrong because I've only read one of her books. So, Crow Lake, I'm going to explain the plot of it first and then kind of explain a few things into detail. So basically, there's a family of 4 children and 2 parents. The family includes the 2 parents, obviously. Their family name is Morrison, and they have 4 children. Kate, being the narrator, she's like in the teenage years. Bo, being the youngest, she's another girl. And then there's Luke, being the oldest, and Matt, who is the middle child. So one day at the very beginning of the book, Luke, he comes home and he tells his family that he gets accepted into teacher's college. So they're having dinner and the family, they get all excited and they say for him to go. And so during that time, after they finish dinner, the parents go out and they go to the bay and they go and get a suitcase for him. But on the way there, they get into a car accident and they die. So the book is basically the journey of the whole family and how they live without the parents not there anymore and how they get through life. And Kate narrates the story and her struggles. And basically, they don't split up as a family. Luke decides that he's not gonna go to teacher's college anymore, and he's gonna just step up and he's gonna take charge and he's just gonna be the head of the family. So Matt, on the other hand, he wanted to go to college as well, but he decided to stay home and live with his family and just kind of live in the moment, I guess you can say. And Kate, one of the younger girls in the family, the narrator, as I mentioned, she has this love for animals and just sea and ponds and stuff like that. So a lot of the times Matt and her, because they're the closest bond, they're the closest bond in the book. They normally go by the pond and they study animals like frogs and a whole bunch of water animals, and they skip stones, and it happens a lot in the book. And it turns out that eventually Kate lives her dream and she becomes a zoologist, and I think at first she was a zoologist and then she becomes an ecologist, and she lives her dream, and it's great. Now, so the book is in 5 parts. I guess it's because the book kind of alternates in between Kate's past, so when the car accident happened, and I think she was about 8 years old, somewhere around there, kind of her early preteens, and then it takes us into the present of her being in her late 20s, I think 26, 27, around there, and her journey as her working with ecology and zoology and stuff like that, and it's a great way for the readers to see what's happening. The book starts off with a description of Kate's great-grandmother. Well, not more of a description, but I'll just read you the first little bit for you to get to a sense of how it really starts. So, part 1. My great-grandmother Morrison fixed a bookrest to her spinning wheel so that she could read while she was spinning, or so the story goes. So it kind of brings in her great-grandmother, and then it talks about how the Morrison family's commandment, because they're very religious, right? So one of their commandments is thou shalt not emote, and that means not to portray emotion with in a theatrical manner, so not to over-exaggerate anything. So at first I was just I understood that maybe she was serious, and I just had a whole bunch of questions as to what the great-grandmother has to do with this, why, why did they open the book this way? And I questioned a lot. In Kate's childhood, Matt and she often visited the ponds near their house. There are many descriptions of the ponds in the novel, which are closely linked to the theme of the story. The ponds represent the childhood and hometown in Kate's mind. They help Kate decide her career and their vital bond between Kate and Matt, which is her brother. Mr. and Mrs. Morrison go into town to get a suitcase for Luke for his teacher's college, but then they are killed by a truck that has lost its brakes. There is a portrait of great-grandmother Morrison, Katie's great-grandmother, who is known for wanting all her children to have an education beyond the farm. Katie takes this portrait with her when she goes to university. Luke struggles to keep up with the washing of Beau's cloth diapers after taking custody of his siblings. Matt uses a map to show Katie how close he will be to her when the children are sent to separate Morrison family's farm in Gas Bay. Matt witnesses Calvin Pye threatening to beat his son, Laurie, with a belt. Before this, Katie sees marks on Laurie's back that resembles the small letter C, which are possibly marks from a belt buckle. So the motifs in this book. I would have to say the book was a tragedy. Obviously because the parents died. It was very sad. It was very descriptive, and it was very much of Kate just, I guess, not really mourning. Well, it was really mourning, but she seemed kind of down throughout the whole book, and it was just, even, because she has a boyfriend, and his name's Daniel, right? But, like, even when she's talking about him, she doesn't seem excited, and I just felt like throughout the whole story, that mood and the atmosphere of it was gloomy. It wasn't really happy, and it wasn't just, like, upbeat or anything. It was just, I felt a lot of sympathy. I want to say that it's a loss of innocence story as well, because Kate starts off as kind of like a confused individual, but then again we start off in her 8-year-old state, and at the end of the book we end off in her being an adult, right? So we kind of get in the mind of her as being an adult. So I think it's loss of innocence because she talks about how, like, how she grows up and how she changes and how she begins to understand everything. Overall, I think that the story was a Bildungsroman, because we got to see how the family transformed and how different they turned. And I want to read just like a paragraph of the conclusions. Kate wrote it, and it's in her 20-year-old, well, mid-20s. It's like her being in the mid-20s and like just how she feels. So she says, "I would like to be able to say that I threw myself into the spirit of it all. But the truth is, I still felt a bit dazed, a bit abstracted. It's going to take time, I guess. If you've thought in a certain way for many years, if you've had a picture in your mind of how things are, and that picture is suddenly shown to be faulty, well, it stands to reason that it will take a while to adjust. And during that time, you're bound to feel disconnected. Anyway, that's how I felt, and still feel to some degree. What I would really have liked to do was sit quietly somewhere, preferably under a tree, and watch the goings on from a distance, in particular watch Matt. Let my eyes absorb this new view of him, a new perspective on our lives." So like I said before, Matt and Kate are the closest of the siblings because they spent a lot of time together. And throughout the book, like, the relationship weakens. And at the end, she seems to like understand as to why it happens, and she says, like I read in particular, to watch Matt, let my eyes absorb this new view of him, this new perspective on our lives, and it shows that she understands the way that he is, and she's seeing life in a different way, and she's able to accept everything, and it's just, I found it was like a really good ending, and it answered a lot of questions of mine as well. This book was an eye-opener for me, I guess, because I never really realized how some people have lives like that and how they have to go through something like that at such a young age with a parent's death, and they're not used to it, and it's just, I guess it would be really hard. And me, I have my family with me, they're all healthy, they're safe, I'm with them, and I don't have to worry about what I'm going to eat the next day, or if I'm going to have money to go anywhere the next day or anything like that. Meanwhile, Kate and them, they struggled for a little bit because their family, they were running out of their dad's money, and Luke couldn't get a job, and for a moment there, they were kind of scared because they didn't really know, like, what was going to happen next. So far, although it was a serious book and was very descriptive, I enjoy that kind of stuff. I enjoy literature like that because I guess you can kind of analyze it more, and you can kind of understand where people are coming from. And I enjoyed it a lot, and I think that if there were like a second book to this, I would read it. And I know that at the end, I reread a few pages a few more times just to see if I can pick up like more information that I didn't get the first time. And I really enjoyed it, and I wish that there would be a second book or something, or like a movie or something. And it was great.